I love these masks, don't you? So welcome to the Poetry Den, where words once written on a page are now performed on stage, and solidarity extends between poets and friends. Please give yourselves a round of applause for being here this evening. Thank you to all of you all that are out there in cyber land and are with us and watching tonight. We appreciate you being here. My name is Pam Blair, AKA Poetic Melody, and I am the founder and the host of the Poetry Den. How many are new to this place? All right, so we have been here probably in this space, probably about 5 or 6 years now, and 6 years probably, more like 6. And 5.5. But I always like to give credit to the place that we're in. It has a lot of history. It's a historic landmark. And so I'd like to ask if George would come up and just, give us the speed version of the short version.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate that. I will condense 90 plus years of history into 5 minutes, but it is deeply worth taking that time and rooting what we're doing tonight out of what happened in this space. For those who are new, you are in what was the former girls' changing room of the Angman Public Natatorium. It was the city of South Bend's first indoor municipal swimming pool. And we think a lot about what those words mean, particularly that word public. We think a lot about the fact that it was carved into the concrete out front. We think about who it was that was running this place and who it was that carved it. Even though this was a South Bend city-owned municipal swimming pool, even though African American people had been part of this city before there was a city, even though they had been here in growing numbers, contributing work, contributing sweat, contributing financially, contributing to the growth of the city. In spite of all those, the people who ran this place, frankly, the people who look like me, specifically and deliberately denied entry to African Americans for 14 years. And then after that, segregated by day for another 14 years. How then could it have been called public? And what did it mean that a portion of that public, again, the portion that I belong to, specifically and deliberately denied the meaning of that word to include all human beings? It was an act of violence. And it impacted, I can't begin to imagine how many tens of thousands of people for at least 30 years and certainly through to today. So what we do today here in 2021 is reclaim it. Take this one space and steer hard and steer heavy into the difficult conversations. Breathe the words of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And to truly begin to try to understand how and why spaces like this, because we were by no means the only one in this city, let alone in this nation, that had a similar pattern or a similar story of injustice. Try deeply to understand that so that we can start healing and start repairing from that. Build the future not only that we want, but our kids' kids, and our kids' kids. Part of that future very much has to include joy. And again, it's why month after month after month, when Pam asks me to leave my warm, cozy house on a Sunday with a plate of Thanksgiving leftovers waiting for me, I gladly do that, and I gladly say yes, because you give us the opportunity to fill this space with joy. So thank you for giving us that privilege, and thank you all for being here to share in that. Thank you.
Thanks, George. Again, like I said, I always want to remember why we're here, and I'm appreciative that they have embraced the arts. And I'm an artist not only just with poetry, but a visual artist as well. And so the fact that we can come in this space, and again, like I said, like him coming, like he said, coming here every month is just, yeah. And he doesn't complain. I complain for him. If he's complaining, he's not saying it verbally, so. So how this works tonight is that we have, you probably saw a sign-up sheet out there. We sign up. I just randomly pick you off the list, so I just ask you to be ready. We have people online that might be reading with us, and so we just kind of alternate. If we have enough time, we will go over that list again, see if anybody else wants to read. And then we have a special feature artist tonight. So I hope you stay around. Please stay around for that. That's why we do what we do. And we ask people, we want to bring people into the space because a lot of things happen out of here. Education, programming, yeah, and especially the arts. So yeah, thank you all for being here once again. So I'm gonna start out, let me do some housekeeping. The bathroom is all the way in the back. If you use the hand dryer, we will hear you. And we'll know you just finished using the restroom. If you take a phone call out there, we will hear you. So if it was a private phone call, it will no longer be private because we'll hear what you're saying. So just, this place has a lot of echo, so as you can tell, you really don't need a mic, but there is a mic available, but, so just kind of be aware of that. Yeah, and if we could keep our phones on silence, that would be awesome too. I'm gonna start with a poem I wrote that's called Don't Wake Me. And you all have, or maybe some of you have heard of like, stay woke, right? This kind of came from that phrase, and I always say this, but it's true. I actually woke up in the middle of the night, wrote this, and then went back to sleep. Don't wake me. I don't want to stay woke. Because being woke means I take accountability for the issues that lie before me. Don't wake me. I'd rather stay asleep. For when my eyes are closed, I have an excuse to live in false realities. Don't startle me out of my sleep. I want to sleepwalk and pretend I don't see poverty, bigotry, a history of wrong thinking, and inequalities. And don't bother to set the alarm. It's my constitutional right to bear arms. Deny death tolls while gun laws refuse to be reformed. Hypnotize me and tell me things will be great again. Let's play childhood card games. I declare war. The best 2 out of 3 wins. Sing me to sleep with, my country 'tis of thee. Tell me a bedtime story of the Statue of Liberty. Remind me of America's loyalty to immigrants and minorities. Please, let me stay asleep. Ignorance is bliss. A privilege I never had is a privilege I'll never miss. Let me continue to dream until dreams become visions, and visions cause revolution, giving me a reason to wake up with coherence. Don't wake me. That's that piece. Oh, let's see. I'll read one more and then I will call one of you lovely people up. This piece is called Freedom Writers. I took these writings and exchanged them for words. I've opened my mouth to thoughts unheard. I've taken these hopes, I've taken these plans, I've taken these dreams and shared them with men. I've sung to you my heart, appointed you my musician, but my words and your music were only an illusion. I took my voice and exposed them to unfamiliar ears. I've given a glimpse, hoping that someone would adhere. I've maximized my freedom, capitalized free speech, called it spoken word. To some, it might impeach. I've found what is foolish will confound the wise. I've found the strong is the weak demise. I've listened to the judgment, wondered about the jury. Was the testimony or witnesses, or was the testimony or witnesses, did someone commit perjury? I said I understood, but did I really understand? Did I compromise my position, trade my vision for your command? I recognize that creative expression does not constitute truth, yet to one's open mind, my understanding produce. Did I take away your freedom, your right to comprehend? Do my words keep us divided, assault the mind, and cause defense? Written words transform to spoken feelings. Let us not be like mere mice chewing books without reading. That's that piece. And I believe I'm gonna say this right. Is it Ayla?
Yeah, you got it right.
Yeah, let's give it up for Ayla, her first time here. Show some love for Ayla, please.
Hi, I'm coming all the way from Terre Haute to visit friends and also come to poetry. So is this like a one poem kind of mic?
It's like 5 minutes.
Oh, okay. All right. And I'll just start out with this one and we'll see how much time we have left. This is a poem I wrote after listening to another poem by Ira Sukrangran called What I Want to Remember the Next Life. And this poem is called Things I Want to Remember in My Next Life as a Deep Sea Bioluminescent Fish. Number 1, socks. I don't expect that socks will mean anything to me as a fish with no legs or feet, but I think remembering socks is what I deserve. I spend so much time thinking about what I deserve in this life. In my next life, I want to deal only with stupid problems, inexplicable and painful still, but forthright in the imagination. Would it not be nicer somehow to suffer without needing a good reason? 2, lapsang shushong tea. The sharp dryness of it, the smoky taste. I don't know if fish need warmth as a concept or a memory, but maybe I will. Maybe it will be good for me to know down there in the fluid shade, in all that heavy space, the idea of another type of lightness. As I make my sparks chemically and seek out others making theirs, it will be little fires against the night still, and I will be able to remember the smell of it. Number 3, dawn. I remember reading a book called When Do Fish Sleep as a kid, but I don't remember the answer. Time has never presented itself to me without allegory. Like a fig tree casting unending lines of shadow in the fresh yellow light, I won't ever figure out the difference between a new day or hard-boiled eggs at 5 a.m. But I know I won't need to remember the dreams I have of flying or the ones where I can breathe underwater. I will only want the vague recollection of waking, the sky brightening in my window for hope, for wonder. Number 4, game nights with trusted friends, drinking and laughing and making the most god-awful, awkward missteps because that part of being human was never easy. But one thing can remain the same from life to life. That way I have about myself when I suffuse joy in my entire being, not often nor on purpose, but incandescent. I hope I will be the type of fish to swallow a whole meal in one gulp. Number 5, my brother. I believe there's a sort of cosmic justice in the lack of choice we are given about whom we love and how we are able to love them. I spend so much time thinking about what I am beholden to in this life. If love is a choice I make on purpose or accidentally, that in my next life it would be so easy to want no choices at all. But maybe this is the test we each must take to die. Name one thing without knowing any words for it, responsible for your own existence. Amazing poem. All right. Another one? Okay, all right. Let's see, I've got one more poem. This one's on my phone. It's called When We Were Small. When we were small, they told us things like we would live forever, and we believed them. When we were small, I pried open steamed mussels while you juggled butter knives, and between us, the Adirondacks rose. I remember enumerating your leaving. First Minneapolis, then Santa Barbara, then Kailua, next the moon, or ISS as if more likely. And you joked over the lines that a satellite would pass over closer than ever, near enough to catch with flypaper and wave out the window. Still, I thought, when we were small, that we would all live forever just the same size. And if the world ever ended in fire or flood or mystery, you would be able to find me, or I you. Always as the sun passes like a beach ball vaulted over the nets of the sea and zones, the way big mountains sweep up to hold little cars in a great bowl of stone, and the rocks tell the history of generations in their own silent language. When we were small, you learned to play the piano while I gave up in my frustrations. Yet still, when provident fingers on the keys strike my inner drums singing and I would walk 1,000 miles, it makes me think of you. When we were small and we could live forever with our feet to the treetops and our heads bumping up against each other on the grassy ground to see the exact same sky.
Can we show some love one more time for Ayla? Thank you for that. Let's see, Katie, are you ready?
Sure.
Yeah, let's give it up. Katie, this is your first time too? Or are you?
My first time here, yeah.
Show some love, some poetry and love for Katie.
Hello, I'm Katie. I've only read poetry one other time, so I'm like really a new practicing poet or reading my poetry. So this first one, I don't really name my poems, but this first one I wrote sometime after COVID sort of shut down the world. In February, I had visited my friend in New York. She was living in Queens at the time, and so this is sort of from that space. There is a train directly ahead of us. Once the way clears up, we will proceed. It's a woman's voice from up above, from beyond me, and we're stopped in the dark. The subway back to Forest Hills. We wait. A quick inhale, a slower exhale. But in just 8 weeks, this subway will have stopped for weeks. Before the halt, it would have been a high-speed ticket to ground zero. COVID-19 will ravage the neighborhood, mainly populated by immigrants, frontline workers, my friends. I will read about it in the Times and worry about it. Momo and baby Nina. In February, we ran up the sidewalk giggling. In March, in April, probably June and July too, maybe August. You're home with Sterling and wine and worry. The city sleeps and whispers and waits for the train directly ahead of us to clear the way so we could proceed. This one also has a COVID-19 tilt. A masquerade. First, we sanitize. Second, we sanitize. Third, we sanitize. Now don your gown and your mask. Whoa, not so fast. We're not ready to dance quite yet. Now, protection. Shield your face, your eyes, sanitize again. Slip on your gloves, and now hold my hand. Lead me to the dance floor. Hold me like we die tomorrow, because we might. But tonight, let's pretend that disease is not real. Just like the birds, those little government spies, so beautiful in flight, watching us circular breathing in each other's arms. End scene, sorry. Do I have time to read another?
Yes, you do.
We are clawing and banging these physical bodies together, rending apart, yanking and squeezing and screaming. All we want is to be torn open, to rip our ethereal flesh raw, to weave the ragged edges of our spirit bodies together in gold, kintsugi, more beautiful when broken, and reunited, shining, loud bonds. Should I read one more, or am I done?
You can read one more, and then we'll probably have time to do another round. So.
Okay. I've never read lots of these, because I've never read this one. I haven't read lots of these. Okay. There's a lot to cry about today. A lot of feelings that must be felt. I will not look away this time. I will not stop the tears, and I will not silence the screams. They must rain down for as long as it takes. They must become as loud as the raging hurricane called injustice, until this storm is loud enough to make the ears of the powerful bleed with reprieve, until these eyes are held open without mercy by the grieving, and the houses at the top are ripped off the foundation, and the mountain throws them from the peak, until the color and the blood and the sweat and tears of our neighbors, our friends, our past, and our future is a raging river flooding into every space, until we are all drenched in this grief and rage, until every man's child feels the weight of this demon rushing into their lungs, and no one can breathe from this knee on our necks. If that's what it takes, so be it.
That's Katie, one more time. Again, if any of you out there are watching us this evening and want to join us, just put a message in the chat, and George will let us know. And it's the same thing for you guys out there, so. Let's see. Spencer, my co-host.
Hey friends. I didn't go to church today. I don't typically go to church, but I threw on a blazer because I have a dinner party after, and I felt like I was going to church. So thanks for church today so far. I appreciate it. It's much better. No one asked for money or anything. It's great. So I have 2 poems for this first round. If we do another, I might have a third. But they're all poems about desire. How does it work? Like, what are the different longings we have? What is it? Like when you want something, but you can't even put your finger on what you want. What is that all about? And so I'm going to go through for different angles. This first poem is called Lab Rat. It's a prose poem, which is engaging with an actual experiment that happened in the 50s, in which a wire was attached to the brain of a rat, and they were able to evaluate where the pleasure circuit was. And they did this completely accidentally. Because I feel like science then would just kind of sticking wires in different things and seeing what happened. It's super unethical. But it brings forth some interesting points about desire. Lab rat. In 1954, Peter Milner and James Olds attached a wire to the soul of a rat. They drilled into gray matter, soft as warm cheese, and eased an adhesive-coated cord right onto her midbrain. When the rodent regained consciousness, she was leashed around the white laboratory box like a cheap RC car. They had to be sure her wires were snug. The fledgling neuropsychologist then initiated a short shock. The rat stopped, surprised. A glaze came over her eyes. And when it ended, she swiveled, sniffed about, swerving left and right, seeking the origin of that unidentified, indiscriminate pleasure. That was the word they used, pleasure. They electrocuted the rat again and again, and her raving remained with scientific reliability. She frenzied for the source, for more. Being generous men, or cruel gods, Milner and Olds then gave control to the rat, placing her in another small, bare box where her brain wire was attached to a lever only she could activate. She found it quickly. This time there was no pause, no search. She just pressed and pressed and pressed and pressed. Impressed, the scientists wired others, a whole herd of robo-rodents, which pressed and pressed and pressed and pressed. Some collapsed from exhaustion, stopped only by the limits of their little bodies, lobotomized by longing. One rat pressed the lever nearly 7,000 times in an hour. These men had done it. They discovered the dopamine highway at the center of all beings, the pleasure circuit, the seat of desire, the soul. And one might have been convinced that this long-time quest of hermit and hedonist was finished, if not for those rats, who all woke again, hungover maybe, and went right back to their levers. To explain why is not to satisfy. So the second one is a bit more personal. It's called 5 Vignettes of Male Desire. I'm going to read a prelude poem and then 3 of the 5. The only context you need to know about this is I was raised in a hyper Christian evangelical background. And in that context, there's a thing called purity culture, which one of the key, I'm sure many people in here understand, like I've heard of this, one of the key, purposes of being a good Christian is making sure you don't, oh God, please don't have sex before marriage. Oh, can you imagine anything worse? 5 Vignettes of Male Desire. Prelude. Once, after speaking at a forum on morals, a former mentor strolled around a college campus with a theologian, a respected man, renowned, whose name I would have known had he told me. A scholar with tenure, kids, a 30-year marriage. While on their walk, the eyes of the well-published sage abruptly glazed. A group of female students shuffled by, on their way to written com 2 or that stupid statistics class. His eyes appraised every curve, breast, ass, wandered between thighs. He let out a sigh. I could fuck like a porn star. The man expected my mentor to understand why. 1. Once, a child no older than 3 waltzed into his father's bathroom to declare, "Daddy, sometimes my pee-pee gets tight and I don't like it." His father paused, caught somewhere between bemused and surprised, and finally replied, "Well, son, I'm sorry to say, but things only get harder when you're older." The child sighed. 3. Once, a kid was cornered by his kind, uncorrupted mother. "Honey, why were you looking at those photos online?" His tongue was a stone. Honey, why did you? Carpet clawing toes, again as gentle as a scalpel. Why did you want to? He alone was evil. He was alone. Mom, he whispered, I don't know. 5. Once there was a boy who discovered hunger. No one told him it was normal to ache from time to time beneath the waist. He was just old enough by then to have heard the explanations, that to be a man is to endure desire, longing induced by glance, gesture, by the most trivial choice in apparel. He was taught the story that Eve, deceived, decided to seduce Adam, imperiling paradise. Was taught fault lied with seduction, and seduction was the dominion of women. The horror of male desire was assumed and therefore actualized. Once there was a boy who discovered hunger and was terrified. Thank you.
One of my BFFs, I call him my male BFFs. And it's hard because he hates the disclaimer.
Well, I'm saying you're my BFF with no disclaimer,
Right.
no adjective, unconditional.
Yeah, give it up for Spencer one more time, please. Again, if you're out there and you want to join us in this open mic, please feel free to read with us. But our next person on board is Ariane. Am I saying that right? Ariane. Please give it up for Ariane. Yeah.
What's up, everyone? Huge shout out to my friend Ayla, who drove 3 hours and a half to come hang out with me on my birthday. It's my birthday yesterday. I'm 31. What's up? In there. Thank you. Man, I'm still waiting, but we'll see. I hope. I have faith. You know, thank you. This first one doesn't have a title. You are lost. You are sure of this. Every direction you look is filled with a thick fog, solid gray sheets, ungiving, stretching as far as your eye can see. Every single way you turn blocked, except right in front of you. It's narrow, the road bumpy, and sometimes your foot slips off the edge and you reach out, hands ready to grasp something, anything, but it's all just fog. It's all fog, and it falls apart in your face. Everything always falls apart, you think. When do I get to rest, you ask? When will the fog lift so I can see where I'm going? See, maybe if there's a nice park with a pretty wooden bench, white slats curved and inviting. It will not lift. It will melt down slowly. You just need to keep walking and walk and keep going. It's okay to stumble. It's okay to lift your throat and cry at the sky. It's all part of your story. There will be a day when you look up and the sun will have turned it all to water. And your road will shine as if unfound gold still lingers in its cracks. And you'll see that you've arrived. You'll look back and see that all along the fog protected your eyes from a harsh landscape, desolate and bleak, deep craters crawling with spiny legs. You'll begin to thank me for the focus I gave you. Is that for you? Thank you so much. So, birthdays have always been a very kind of dramatic and rough time, you know, and in years past, you know, I think I was in a really rough place and I couldn't even really celebrate with my family. So the biggest thing that the Great Pumpkin brought me is that I get to have my siblings with me. So shout out to my babies right here. They don't think they're my babies because they're all taller than me or whatever, but it doesn't work like that. So this other poem that I have is called Customer Service. So I've always worked in customer service, and this one was written when I was working at a call center. And just really, what I love about customer service and every job I've ever done is just like, is knowing that it's a person I'm helping or doing something for that gets me going, you know, and I can always try to find some kind of kindness and humanity until at least my shift is over and then I can rest, you know? So here's this one, Customer Service. Shout out to Pauline, the woman I wrote it for. You are helpless. You have done all you can, filled out every box, hit enter at the end of every screen, completely assured her on the line that her complaint will be passed along. Yes. You nod multiple times, you throw your hands up as if their movement could somehow shoo her voice away. You can't hang up the phone. She knows your name and will call right back and ask for you. You have actually stopped listening to her shrill words, her run-on sentences peppered with crackling fucks and heavy hells that slap into your headset. Then she wakes you up with the magic words. You jerk upright, rub the sleep from your eyes as she repeats her request for a supervisor. At this moment, you know you have two choices. You can connect her to your boss, redirect the speeding, flaming train, or you can force yourself to empathize, to try to understand her. But do it quick. You only have a few seconds. Maybe she lives alone, and besides her own, you're the only other voice she'll hear today. Maybe her cable went out, her pipes burst, and she's taken all her boredom, frustration, guilt, and shame, mixed it all up into a nasty hot soup that she enjoys pouring on your face. You're able to take a deep breath, push a smile into your voice, reluctantly, the muscles wrapped around your mouth fighting it, like pushing a blunt nail through a piece of leather. Pauline, you say calmly. Pauline. You let your voice deepen as you attempt to soothe her, to soften her. Pauline. You firmly repeat that her business is taken care of, slow, warm honey dripping from every word. You craft a beautiful farewell, simultaneously letting her know you're done talking to her and wishing her all the best for the rest of her days, but then you hang up. You have done all you can.
Ariane, please, one more time for her. All right, Lori, I know you've been waiting so patiently out there in Cyberland. You ready? We can't hear you yet. Uh-oh. No, not yet.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you.
Yay!
Yeah, this is Lori, everybody.
Hi. Okay, this poetry is from a collection called Home. I wrote these from 2020 to 2021 through the pandemic. This first one I like to read is called New Year's Eve. New Year's resolution. Typing a book of poetry on a Smith Corona typewriter. One peck at a time on the keys to prove to myself I can still do this. 11 years later, still poeting, writing, and making art, spending New Year's Eve typing poems, 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 poems. That is New Year's Eve. This next one is called we go. Birthday wish. This was written in 2020. As I turn 49, I wonder what the year will bring. As I turn 49, my birthday wish is to be typing a poem like this one a year later, because it means I will have survived the pandemic. So far, so good. Knocking on wood. And that is my birthday wish for you. Okay. Semi-centennial. I thought that would go with the other one. Time to move forward. Time to move onward. Time to leave old patterns behind. Time for keeping the progression. Time to end the isolation. Time to end unhealthy distractions. Time to give outward. Time to reflect inward, but not too much. Time to celebrate our semi-centennial. Time to take flight. And that's based on turning 50 this year. Am I doing okay on time?
Yeah.
Okay. Sweat over tears. Every drop of sweat that runs down my forehead after planting the garden or speed walking around the river replaces the tears that once poured out of my eyes and into the wine I used to cherish. I prefer sweat over tears. Thank you. Okay, this one is called Dinner Time. I feel awkward watching two mallards waiting in the tiny pond while my cat Mittens scarfs down cat food flavored with the essence of duck. Yeah, that was awkward. I'll read two more. That's all right? They're short. Social distancing. Bees, like humans, are friends from a distance, and when threatened, may sting. And I'll go ahead and read the last one called Locking It In, and then IN for the initials of Indiana. So it's kind of a two ways to look at it. A month after the midnight Soberversary Donut Fest held in Indianapolis, Indiana, with friends, the flowers tucked away in a greenhouse until spring, and I typed the final poems on pages, words tucked away, both collections bloomed, soon becoming fond memories as I take the paper out, close the vintage black typewriter case, locking it in. Thank you.
It's my friend Lori. Please show some love for her. So we went through the first round. Is there anybody else that'd like to read? I can start off, and if anybody else would like to read tonight. Any people that are on there, Katie? You interested in reading again? Are you? Okay. Okay. Spencer, what about you? Yep. All right. So I'm gonna read this. This is a new poem, and I actually haven't actually read it because there is music that's supposed to go with it that I won't be singing, but yeah. It's called A Mother's Lament. It's especially kind of appropriate because a friend of mine, well, I have a relative, a cousin that just lost her daughter, and I have another friend that just lost her son, and both of them are in their 30s. So her heart still waits by the door. The song skips across the record. Nothing can feel this alone. A mother's nature is not to bury her own. The rehearsal is fresh in her head. Was there something she could have done or said? Might anything keep this day from actually ever happening? A continued storm, the tears that once watered her joys now fall through the cracks of the floor. The reality feels so very cold and forevermore. Blood-stained eyes become red-filled skies, chalk outlines and yellow tape act as stop signs. Her heart still waits by the door. The song skips across the record. Nothing can feel this alone. A mother's nature is not to bury her own. Is there any biblical is there any biblical theory behind this mother's weary and the forever memories of a life taken prematurely? From the hands that serve and protect to human life we simply reject. The violence from indifference, a community that's not vigilant. Her heart still waits by the door. The song skips across the record. Nothing can feel this alone. A mother's nature is not to bury her own. Her arms are too short to hug. Her kisses won't be felt from above. Her child's smile resides in photos. The laughs rewind all the videos. Above, we see a crescent moon, stand in a gap for all the wounds. Together, let us bring light to violence. We say their names and break the silence. Her heart still waits by the door. The song skips across the record. Nothing can feel this alone. A mother's nature is not to bury her own. Is that piece? Oh, I'll read one more and then, Katie, I'll ask you if you'd like to join me.
Well, Dan, really quick, Dan online wanted to do.
Dan, he woke up. Okay. Just messing with you, Dan. Just messing with you. All right, I'll read one, Dan, and then I'll come back to you, okay? Let's see. I will read this one. It's called The Art of Rushing Time. And this was a piece that I wrote when I think about, like, you know, living for the weekend. It's hump day. Is it Friday? And so that sparked this poem. They say time waits for no one, but will it wait for me? Time places no hands on the clock. For eternity, no man has lived to see. What if your time spent in this world was only preparing you for the next, and how you respond could leave you inadequate for the trip? Will you be deficient and unequipped because you refuse to love and refuse to forgive? A master of time and a slave to the wait. Time is too long to grieve and fear too hard to marinate. With no time to lose and your true passion to gain, time does not wait for you to love. Time waits for hate to eradicate. With every hurried moment, a shovel throws dirt to the wind. 2 feet, 4 feet, 6 feet deep. And you will lie quietly, finally. From dust you were formed, to dust you will return officially. Ask me to calm the wind or to stop the rain, to pray for those encumbered with pain. But don't ask me to rush time and fast forward, DVR, when you can't live in the moment. Time rises, time falls. Time seems to stand still, and time absorbs. Time buys and time flies. Time says hello, and then time says goodbye. Time is everything we know and everything we know not of. Time will tell time in minutes and in quarters. Time will add up for richer or for poorer. How we spend time is the wealth of the soul. There is no real art to rushing time, just poetic stories untold. Thank you. Dan, if you're ready, we'd love to hear you.
Hi.
Yeah, give some love for Dan, please.
So thank you. I've been trying to write a poem every week, and I got hung up this week and didn't get one written until just recently. So it's a little bit of a rough draft, and I think I'll call it "I'm effing tired of COVID. You know what was worse than COVID? After COVID. I don't know if you all know who we were essential, what it means now to those of us who are essential after COVID, but not after COVID. It sucks. There is a cure, but half the SOBs won't get it. A whole bunch of mothers won't go back to work. So we work harder. Maybe harder than we've ever worked before. We run. I mean, like we run like a simile. Shit, I have been literally running for 2 years. It isn't fast enough for some of you. We don't dig deep enough. We can't explain why we're out of stuff you want enough. Our well-trained customer service skills zip our lip. Say we're sorry, but damn, we're not. Thank you. That's all.
Sorry about that. There we go. All right, one more time for Dan, please. As I try to play DJ and host and. Katie, we want to join me one more time? Yeah, show some love for Katie, please.
Thank you guys for listening to me. This is like really cool practice for me because I want to get better at this. And I wanted to say hello to Dan. We're still on for coffee tomorrow morning, right? Yeah, okay. All right. This one I wrote just a couple weeks ago. I feel like it's weird. It's weird. And I was trying to like describe what was happening in my mind or how I was thinking about my mind, and then it got weirder and weirder, and that's what it is. Okay. My mind, chutes and ladders, portals to exploding galaxies, rivers of flowers and beds made of hypoallergenic cats, soft. The bike trails are snail trails, edible glitter and strawberry. Elbows are gentle and knees are loved. When you want a hug, you are most perfectly enveloped, warm, wanted. When you want to scream yourself off the cliff and into the void, instead you are launched into flight. Find new ways to die, softly holding hands, holding brand new poodle puppies, weeping quietly inside the womb of God, kicking, pushing your way, ripping him apart, final independence from this unwilling mother, the addict, the mute. He breathes the last cry, the last grasping gasp to control you, your eyes wide open, voice strong, walking by noon, dancing by dinner time over his dead body. Got weird, right? Got a little weird. And then this is just a funny one. And this one has a name. It's called Tinder. I am an internet person. I will disappoint you. I will unmatch you without warning. Good vibes only. Work hard, play hard. Hollister hat. Smiling is for the weak. I don't like soccer moms. Liking dogs and tacos are not personality traits. I'm an open book, just ask. I'm 36 and want children someday, but I'm seeking something casual. I'm a simple guy. I love golf. Life's too short, just like my dick. Full disclosure. Full disclosure, I was recently released from prison.
Love the humor, Katie. Spencer, come on up. Anybody else out there? Okay, all right.
All right, so I just have one more. It's a two-part poem. I will only be sharing the first part because there are some poems you only share the first part of it, not the second part. This is a poem called Love the Wound, and before we get into it, it's a little technical, and so some of the lines probably won't sound quite right, and just like let them go by if they don't make any sense. But I want to bring forth a concept first. You know when you have like a moment and you're experiencing this incredible moment of joy or happiness or ecstasy or whatever, and there's that immediate feeling after, you're like, oh my God. And it's not like celebration, it's like fear. It's like that feeling is going to haunt me the rest of my life. Like that was so great, or I remember this thing from years ago and that was so good. It still walks with me today. This poem is reflecting a lot on the beautiful parts of life, but then how they make claims on us afterwards that maybe aren't so ideal. One last thing, just formally, the poem is centered around one sentence. The sentence is, love the wound that consumes all you are. And throughout the poem, I will remove words from that sentence to make different meanings throughout. When I raise my hand, I'm in the sentence. So, love the wound. Love the wound that consumes all you are. Do away with the fable of the sated self. What makes us more than our aches? Longing is a knife we welcome, so play the blades, and after, learn to love the wound that you are. Every bliss risks becoming a life sentence, a moment you're forever exiled from, for memories are hungry things. In Hades, the shades expect an offering. They will try to consume all you are. Again and again is dissolves to was, unassisted by every because. So many of us are walking haunted from an unwanted past tense, from a small, inconceivable shift in syntax. You are. Love, the wound that consumes all you are. Thank you.
Thank you, Spencer. One more time for Spencer. Ariane, you want to come up? Show some love for Ariane.
So Pam, could I pick my song next time? Like my walk up. So ever since I started writing poetry, I started writing poetry because there was a lot in here that needed to, and for a long time, I kind of thought that's what poetry is, that it's always the blah, like I have to wait till I'm overwhelmed and dying to do something. And so I had ended up, I was in Massachusetts, and there was an English professor who loved poetry so much that, he was teaching at the school near there and running like just like every week a 2 to 3 hour poetry class at the library for free for me and senior citizens. And I was there every Tuesday. I learned so much. I loved it so much. Shout out to you. Like, I loved your poem last time, the saving the 14 something, right? From yeah, like I love everyone. I love poetry so much. And so what I learned to do there was to really also just enjoy the writing and enjoy something and enjoy taking a snapshot of something, whatever it is. And so this is one of my like super cute poems, and I hope you guys like feel good about it after. The crunch of the gravel getting caught between the sidewalk and the swirling grooves etched into the bottom of your shoes. The air flirtatiously nipping at your ears as it whistles past. The sun's growing warmth caressing your forehead, all work together to lull you into forgetting that you are not alone. So yes, your heart will jump to the front of your chest and you'll have to place your hand back on it to push it back into position, terrified because a stranger is approaching your path. You might look down swiftly, unsure. You might look to the side, unwilling to put their friendliness to the test. You might even check the time on your watch, as if the stuttering fingers of pulsing two dots between stiff numbers would change the fact that you are here, there, and there is no one else. In the end, just in time before you cross each other, never to meet again, the love ever presently living in your soul wins, and you let your eyes meet, touch, and you remember what you've forgotten. All it takes to make a stranger smile is the sight of your own face, rippling, cheeks folding in, teeth winking out, eyes narrowing in pleasure as you smile first. Thank you.
Show some love for Ariana, please. Thank you for all of you who participated in the open mic tonight. You guys ready for your feature? Yeah. Thank you for bringing your folks. That's what we love. We love for people to bring people with them. Tell your friends and your enemies and all of them. Bring them all here. We'll wrap them all up in a ball of love. How about that? As you know, the Poetry Tent happens every fourth Sunday of the month. Next month, it will be the third Sunday, which will be the 19th, and we'll wrap up the year with that. But yeah, every fourth Sunday of the month, we meet here at 6 p.m. And so, as you know, we do the open mic, and then we have our featured artists. And I am very excited to bring Kenneth Tate to the Poetry Den tonight. Give you a little bit of what he told me. And Kenneth is a writer when he is sad, a runner when he is anxious. I'm sorry. Kenneth is a writer when he is sad, a runner when he is anxious, and a friend when he is thriving. He studied psychology, sociology, and criminal justice in his undergrad. Kenneth has since been a marketing agent, salesman, office manager, and of current, a barista. He is living proof that nobody really has it figured out. He seeks to create art that is both accessible and distinct. He has decided to fail. Yeah, that was deep, bro. So this is not your first time to the Poetry Den, I'm pretty sure, right? I feel like you've been here before.
This is my first time performing.
Okay. So yeah, we want to show some really big love, if you're online or if you're in this room, for Kenneth Tate as he comes to present as our featured artist for the evening.
A little old school. I have a mouse. So I'm just gonna grab this thing right here.
Yeah.
To like sit it on here.
Do you need the mic to be lower or you?
I mean, it's more of a prop, I feel like, right?
Okay.
Hi, I'm really excited to be here tonight because I haven't shared any of my poetry in maybe 2 years since the pandemic. And so this is my first time sharing my poetry in front of other people. So I'm in a long time. So I was trying to gather through the archives of a lot of poems that I've written before, and trying to find a common theme. But something, I don't know what happened to me within those 2 years, but I used to think everything that I write on paper is gold. And within those 2 years, I was just like, okay, not this, not that, not that. And so I found 4 that I really like, and I'm gonna share those with you. I think the common theme that runs through each of the poems, because they're very different, they have very different kind of take places in different parts of my life. But a common theme, I think, through all of them is the aspiration towards freedom and autonomy. And so that is kind of the message that I want to convey with each of my poems. So this first one is called High, and I'm going to share this with you. Goodness. Okay. Might just bring this all the way up. I'm so high right now. I feel alive right now. I'm so high. I'm so high. I'm so high right now. Smoke flying, adrenaline rising, eyes opened, I am broken. I left the world for a split second. I went to a world without morals and ethics. I explored Venus and Mars, making my home among the stars. I couldn't repel the luring sensation. My mind said no, but my heart was elated. I was in love with the warmth of it, my sweet escape from all of it. Demons awoken, I see the light, but only for a moment. I want the devil to hold me, run away to a place where nobody knows me. Who knew that I'd be beautiful? There's something about it that's spiritual. Strip me down and break me in, engage with me in secret sin. I am made glorious, something beautiful and euphoric. Taken captive to be set free, they're all afraid of me. So high and so broke, lying with mummies and ghosts. I only belong here, losing love and escaping fear. Break me, mold me, then let go of me. I am toxic, I am holy, I am king and queen, I am legacy, I am weak, I am nothing. I lie in contradiction, bathing my soul in music, darken my spirit, start a movement. I tuck one more hit, one more sip, my eyes roll back, I start to drift. Sweaty corpses near me, even monsters love me. Bodies combined with mine, they're only lovers if they look you in the eye. I am dark and I am twisted, I am love that's perverted. I'm so high right now, I feel alive right now. Smoke flying, adrenaline rising, eyes open, I am broken. Oh, did I knock it over? Oh my God. Thank you. Cool. Yeah, so I actually, just to give you insight of this poem, I actually started writing this all the way back in high school. And I wrote it in an era of my life in which I was very kind of repressed. And I had this sort of idea of conforming and behaving that was very important to me. But in writing, it was the one area, because I was a high school senior, it was the one area in which I could explore what I would have called back then as the temptation. But I came back to this poem, I think it was sometime last year. No, it was actually my last edit. This is crazy. But the day before the world shut down was March 13, 2020, my birthday. And when I was editing it, I was also adding to it. I was just like, okay, so being high doesn't feel that way. So let's, so now that I've actually been high, let me edit some things and like bring it back, bring some life into it. But I think I wrote it, so part of it was written in high school, and the other part was written in the time in which I was living the rebellious teenage years I always wanted to live in my 20s. So, so that's what that's about, that freedom of being able to escape and do whatever the hell you want. This next poem is called Chaos. Chasing wind, allowing the tides to rock me back and forth. Loud noise shakes my body. I make love to the music. My heart shatters back and forth in a rhythmic pattern. My mouth is full of bitterness. Warmness stretches across my chest. There, so very far away, spirit upward, I meet their gaze. I am on a new type of high. Pushed away, I embrace the alter ego. The vines that chained me are no more. I regret nothing at this moment. Smoke fills my lungs, heart awoken by love. Here I am again, surrounded by lights, beautiful worlds, and I stand in the center. Let my past be memorialized on paper, soul drifting towards the theater, heart tuned in. I jump off a balcony and fly to the stars, reaching higher and higher. I'll go far. Once in a while, I see past my mediocre dreams. My inner being guides me. I gain perspective. In my dreams, I am a god. Gods can't bleed, but I do. I'm lost, and I need rescue. If there is a deity, let them save me. Let them guide me to safety, lead me to serenity. Free me of the winds, don't let them push me. Give me wings so they can't break me. Let me dance with the tides, don't let them move me. Let me ride the waves, don't let them bruise me. Grant me power in the chaos. Allow me to be the last one standing. So one connection that I'd like to make between this poem and the last poem is the sort of like areas in life in which I was at. When I wrote the first one, High, I was kind of, when I initially wrote it, I'm talking when I was in high school, I was very much in this place of like, in this kind of closed off spot looking out at the world. And now it felt as though the walls that I had built around my life within the faith system that I was brought up in were kind of being torn down. And I was kind of in this place of, I feel unsafe and I'm in uncharted territory that I don't really know about. But within it, when I initially wrote it, it was like this excitement, but also this fear. And so the poem really ended sadly initially. It ended with death. But when I revisited it, I was just like, no, like what I need is back when I was in that crossroads of faith, I didn't have a lot of trust in myself within that. And so when I write it now, I'm just like, no, listen in on that inner voice, and you can get through the changing currents that is the world. You're right to think that the world is dark, but you can get through it. So that was kind of my mindset. Like now today, when I revisited that poem and made some alterations. So this next section is a little different. It's called Love Letters, and it's kind of a message, an open letter to two former lovers of mine, and just talking about different messages that I got from them and things that I still carry with me. Okay. I became a monster because of you. If you were with you, you become one too. I charged you with treachery, then I acted treacherous. Love sick and hypocritical, I did things that were unforgivable. What do you know of love? What do I know of love? If our only example of love is pain, I don't want love that looks that way. Dear Mitchell, it's controversial that I should use your name in a place I know in which you can't be hidden. In my poems and in my stories, you are referenced as my beloved, my antagonist, and my Achilles heel, but never by name. I no longer have any obligation to protect your identity or your privacy, but I'm not here to bash you. I want you to know I fell in love again. And although I could never forget you, I managed to suppress you. The freedom of knowing I could find belonging in another human being felt hopeful. It was inspiring, but it didn't last. When he left, when our love ended, and thoughts of you made a resurgence, it is only out of sheer willpower that I did not drunkenly contact you. If I had contacted you, I would have given you back the power that I worked so hard to keep and the power I was born to possess. I don't mean power in the monetary sense, but I mean autonomy in its purest sense. Complete freedom from being owned by another individual. I write this knowing you won't care, but I miss you, and there's no reason why I should. I only shrink with you, and if longing and sadness is the path to power, I choose power. I will choose power every time. I believed, scratch that, I believe you are my soulmate, my spirit's longing and my beginning to my end. But not everyone gets to be with their soulmate. So I let go of the idea of fairy tales and the belief that I shall find self-fulfillment, which is the greatest love. By Ken. Where are you going, my unsuspected healer? I may not need you, but oh, how I miss you. I know that you don't love me in the way that I do. Just hold me a little longer, won't you? I'll hold on to summers on the beach, snuggles on the couch, and car rides to Indy. No one is ever ready to say goodbye. This is over. Goodbye. Dear Russell, I didn't cry for you. I waited for the tears to come, but they never did. It wasn't as if I hadn't missed you or was somehow glad you were gone, but I realized you served your purpose, and that purpose was no longer viable. The way that I am writing, you would think that it was my decision to end things, which it definitely wasn't. However, I've never been good at goodbyes and probably would have held on longer than I should, which would have ruined both of us. The way you spoke clearly, unapologetically, and without a filter was shocking. If I'm being honest, it was sometimes uncomfortable because you had an inability to read a room. But the longer I was with you, the more comfortable it made me. I was never scared of you withholding truths from me because the way you were born made it difficult for you to lie. You never made me feel bad about having feelings or becoming attached. I would call myself stupid whenever I felt I was falling too hard for you. But you reassured me that my feelings were legitimate and that I should never feel bad about them. Where other loves held my heart captive, yours gave me freedom. I know that's a bit mushy, and we've never been like that with one another, but my heart can't help feeling an overwhelming sense of gratitude towards you. Maybe that's why I didn't cry. Your love taught me autonomy. And although I miss you, I know I will be fine without you. Sending you hugs and kisses. Love, Ken. So what I like about that section is it highlights two different lovers. And I think the real correlation is the fact that it wasn't until the second romance story that it really just sort of what was written in the first section was really fulfilled. and that sort of autonomy that I had wasn't fulfilled into the second love interest. And I have one more poem that I'm going to close with. And this one is more about written less for me. The others, I feel like, were all about personal journeys. And this one is for me, but it's also for a collective. And it's not written for everybody, and I'm not sorry about that. It's called The Sun. The sun beat down on my black skin. Make me blacker, sun. The gods know that blackness is beautiful. Praise be to Ra, who gifted us to thrive in sunlight. Sun bearers we are, shamed for the gift we have, ostracized and hated until we hated ourselves. We avoid the sunlight we are made for, fear of becoming darker, ashamed of our blackness. The white boasts of their skin, telling us it symbolizes purity, teaching us somehow that it is linked with beauty. They do not believe the lies they tell, manipulating the sun, taking what comes naturally to us. I am not afraid of staying too long in the sun. I bask in its glory. I take what belongs to me. My brothers and sisters, do not run from your identity. Do not be fooled. The sun was made for us. Ra darkens us with love. You are beautiful because you are colored. It is blackness that absorbs the light. You are made exactly right. The sun burns those who cannot handle its light. They have not received the gift. They were not made for it. Do not look low of them for this. They do not know they are lacking. They have everything but sunlight and still are not happy. The sun beats down on our black skin. Make us blacker, sun. The gods know that blackness is beautiful.
Kenneth, you are awesome. Please show some love for him again. Do you go by Ken or do you go by either?
I've been more so Ken now, but if you want to call me Kenneth, I'm totally fine with that too.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's probably something I should have asked in the
No,
beginning.
you're totally
Once again, thank you all for being here. All of you that this is your first time, we hope that you will come back and join us again. There's always a new crowd, there's always new performers, but we always love for you to come back and read again. I might reach out to you to maybe be a feature, so don't be surprised. But yeah, we encourage some of the reasons that we ask for features to come, because we want them to bring, their people with them, to not only to support them, but to support the arts. And then we kind of like mingle, and there's all kinds of things happening in the poetry world out there, and not just with the Poetry Dan and the Skid Dan, to get the connection. But again, next month, instead of the fourth Sunday, we'll be here on the third Sunday, which is December 19th. Same time, same best station. We have a Facebook page, The Poetry Den. We have an Instagram, which is Poetry Den 2012. Yeah. So you can find information there. We also promote other poetry things if the people give them to me. We like to also support those events as well. But again, I hope you all had a great holiday, Thanksgiving, and I hope you all have joy and peace as you move into the next holiday with all of our wonderful, beautiful masks that will maybe one day disappear. So again, my name is Pam Blair. This is the Poetry Den. Thank you for being here. God bless. Yeah.